The mafia boss found a single mom and her daughter sleeping on trash behind an old factory. He stepped closer and the woman looked up, terrified, shielding her child. Then he saw her face. The childhood friend he thought was dead. The one his empire had been hunting for 10 years. The gunshot still rang in Anton Valerio's ears as he slammed the car door shut. He didn't wait for his men. Didn't look back at the dockyard where Diego's body now lay cooling on the concrete, a hole through his chest because he'd tried to skim 300,000 off the top of their arms deal. Anton had pulled the trigger himself. Clean, quick, necessary. That's what he told himself as he drove through the industrial district, hands white-knuckled on the steering wheel. But tonight, the killing sat different in his gut. Maybe it was because Diego had begged. Maybe it was because the man had a kid. Anton didn't usually care about those details.
Couldn't afford to.
In his world, mercy was just another word for weakness, and weakness got you buried in a shallow grave. The November wind howled through the empty streets as he turned onto a service road that ran behind the old recycling plant. This part of the city was dead after dark, just rusted fences, broken streetlights, and the kind of silence that made you hear your own heartbeat. He was reaching for his cigarettes when he saw them. At first, he thought it was just trash. A pile of cardboard and plastic bags heaped against a dumpster. But then the pile moved, and Anton's foot hit the brake so hard the tire screeched. A little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, curled up on flattened boxes, her face pressed against a teddy bear that had seen better days. And beside her, wrapped around her like a human shield, was a woman.
Young. Thin.
Shivering despite the jacket she'd draped over the girl. Anton sat there for a moment, engine idling, watching them through the windshield. He should drive away. He had bigger problems than some homeless woman and her kid. The Rosselli family was moving in on his territory. His own counsel was questioning his decisions. And now, after tonight, the cops would be sniffing around the dockyard by morning. But something about the way the woman held that little girl, like she was the only thing in the world worth protecting, made Anton's chest tighten. He killed the engine and stepped out. The cold hit him immediately, cutting through his suit jacket. How long had they been out here? Hours? Days? His footsteps crunched on broken glass as he approached. The woman's eyes snapped open instantly, the kind of alertness that came from never feeling safe. She scrambled backward, pulling the girl behind her, both of them pressed against the dumpster with nowhere left to run. Stay back. Her voice cracked with terror. Please, please, just leave us alone. Anton stopped, raising his hands. I'm not going to hurt you. That's what they all say. She was crying now, clutching the little girl, so tight the kid started to whimper. Please. We'll leave. We'll go somewhere else. Just don't take my daughter. Please. I'll do anything, just don't hurt her. The desperation in her voice was raw, primal. Anton had heard people beg before, plenty of times. But this was different. This wasn't someone begging for their own life. This was a mother willing to trade her soul to save her child. He took a step closer, hands still raised. I'm not taking anyone. The woman's face tilted toward the streetlight, and Anton's words died in his throat.
No.
It couldn't be. His mind was playing tricks on him. Had to be. Because the woman staring at him with those wide, terrified eyes, the sharp cheekbones, the scar above her left eyebrow, the way she bit her bottom lip when she was scared. Lila? Her name came out as barely a whisper. The woman froze. For a second, just a second, recognition flashed across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by something harder, colder. You have the wrong person. Her voice was flat now, emotionless. We're nobody. Just let us go. But Anton was already moving forward, and she was already collapsing. Her legs gave out like someone had cut the strings. The little girl screamed as her mother crumpled to the ground, and Anton barely caught her before her head hit the pavement.
Mama.
The girl was sobbing, trying to shake her mother awake. Mama, please. Wake up. Anton's heart was hammering as he looked down at the woman in his arms. Even unconscious, even rail-thin and covered in grime, there was no mistaking her. Lila Moreno. The girl who used to sneak him sandwiches when his father locked him in the basement. The girl who taught him how to tie his shoes and told him stories about places where people didn't hurt each other. The girl who disappeared 10 years ago after being accused of stealing $500,000 from the Valerio syndicate. The girl he'd been told was dead. Lady, please wake up. The little girl was hitting his arm now, tears streaming down her dirty face. You're hurting her. Let go. Anton looked at the kid, really looked at her, and his blood ran cold. Dark hair, brown eyes, a small, distinctive scar above her left eyebrow. Just like Lila's. What's your name? He asked, his voice rough. The girl glared at him through her tears. I'm not telling you anything. You're one of the bad men. I'm not. Anton stopped himself. Was he? Look, your mom is sick. She needs a hospital.
No.
The girl threw herself across Lila's body.
No hospitals.
They find you at hospitals. That's what Mama says.
They.
Anton's jaw clenched. Who's they? The girl just shook her head, sobbing harder. He didn't have time for this. Lila's pulse was weak, her breathing shallow. Whatever was wrong with her, it was bad. And sitting here on a service road behind a recycling plant wasn't going to help. Anton scooped Lila up in his arms. God, she weighed nothing, and started toward his car. The little girl scrambled after him, still crying, still hitting his legs with her small fists. Put her down. You can't take her. Put her down. Get in the car, Anton said, popping the back door open with his elbow.
Now. No.
He laid Lila across the back seat as gently as he could, then turned to the girl. She was standing in the middle of the road, shaking, looking at him like he was a monster. Maybe he was. You can come with us, Anton said quietly, or you can stay here in the cold. But I'm taking your mother to a hospital whether you like it or not. The girl looked at Lila's unconscious form, then back at Anton. Then, slowly, she climbed into the car and pressed herself against the door as far from him as she could get. Anton slid behind the wheel and pulled out his phone, dialing as he started the engine. Marcus. I need the private hospital on 5th. Tell them I'm coming in under the name James Patterson, and tell them if they ask questions or keep records, they're dead. He hung up before Marcus could respond and pressed the accelerator. In the rearview mirror, he could see the little girl holding her mother's hand, whispering something he couldn't hear. And all Anton could think was, what the hell happened to you, Lila? The hospital smelled like antiseptic and lies. Anton paced outside the emergency room, ignoring the stares from the night staff. His suit was wrinkled, his hands still dirty from carrying Lila in from the car. The little girl sat in a plastic chair against the wall, knees pulled to her chest, watching him like a trapped animal watches a predator. Mr. Patterson? A doctor emerged, clipboard in hand. Young guy, nervous.
Good.
Nervous meant he'd keep his mouth shut. Your wife is stable. Severe malnutrition, dehydration, exhaustion. We're giving her fluids, and she's not my wife. The doctor blinked.
Oh.
I apologize. The paperwork said. I don't care what the paperwork says. When can I see her? She's still unconscious, but you can go in. Room 347. The doctor glanced at the little girl. Should we examine the child as well?
No.
The girl's voice was sharp, panicked. She pressed herself harder against the wall. Anton held up a hand. Later. Let me talk to her mother first. The doctor nodded and disappeared down the hallway. Anton started toward the room, then stopped when he realized the girl was following him, staying 10 feet back, silent as a shadow. He didn't tell her to leave. Room 347 was dim, just a single light above the bed. Lila lay there with N4 in her arm, her face turned toward the window. In the soft light, Anton could see everything he'd missed on that dark service road. The hollows in her cheeks, the bruises on her arms, the way her collarbones jutted out like broken wings. She'd always been small, but this was different. This was someone who'd been surviving on scraps and fear. The little girl slipped past him and climbed onto the bed, careful not to disturb the 4 line. She curled up against Lila's side, fitting perfectly into the curve of her mother's body. Anton pulled a chair close and sat down heavily. 10 years. 10 years since Lila Moreno had vanished from his life. He'd been 19 then, fresh out of his father's shadow, trying to hold together a syndicate that wanted to tear itself apart. His father had just died, murdered, though they'd called it a heart attack, and the council was circling like sharks. Then the money went missing. $500,000 from one of the main accounts. And the only person with access besides the council members had been Lila, who'd been working as his father's bookkeeper. The council had been unanimous. She'd stolen it and run. They'd sent men after her.
Good men.
The kind who didn't come back empty-handed. But they had. They'd said she was dead. Killed herself rather than face justice. They'd even brought back a body, burned beyond recognition, but with Lila's dental records. Anton had believed them. He'd mourned her, hated her, tried to forget her. And now here she was, lying in a hospital bed with a daughter who looked about 9 years old, which meant. Lila's eyes opened. For a moment, she just stared at the ceiling, disoriented. Then her gaze slid to the fore, to the little girl beside her, to Anton. And something in her expression went completely dead. "Sophie," she said quietly, her voice hoarse. "Come here, baby." The girl, Sophie, immediately scooted closer, wrapping her arms around Lila's waist. Lila stroked her hair with shaking fingers, never taking her eyes off Anton. "You should have left us there," Lila said. Anton leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You collapsed. You would have died." Maybe that would have been better. The words hit him like a punch. "Don't say that." "Why?" Lila's laugh was bitter, broken. "You think bringing us here was mercy? You just painted a target on our backs."
Again.
"What are you talking about?" Lila sat up slowly, wincing. Sophie tried to push her back down, but Lila shook her head. She looked at Anton with eyes that had seen too much, survived too much. "You really don't know, do you?" Her voice was cold, accusing. "Or maybe you do, and you just don't care." "Lila, I thought you were dead." "I was supposed to be." She touched Sophie's face, smoothing back her hair. "Your men made sure of that. Or they tried to." Anton's chest tightened. "My men didn't." "Didn't what?" "Hunt me down like an animal? Burn my apartment with me inside it? Your council sent them, Anton. On your father's orders first, then yours after he died. I never ordered anyone to hurt you. You didn't stop them either." Lila's voice cracked, and Sophie started crying. She immediately softened, pulling her daughter close. "It's okay, baby. It's okay. Mama's here." Anton stood up, his mind racing. If what she was saying was true, if the council had lied about her death, lied about the money. "Tell me what happened," he said. "All of it." Lila looked at him for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "You have no right to ask anything. Your world did this to us." She kissed the top of Sophie's head. "We survived 10 years without you. We'll survive the rest. Lila, get out." Her voice was steel. "Get out and don't come back. You want to help? Forget you saw us." Anton stared at her, at the girl who used to smile at him like he was worth saving, who used to tell him he could be better than his father. That girl was gone. "I can't do that," he said quietly. "Then we're already dead." Anton didn't leave. He spent the night in the hallway outside room 347, sitting on the cold linoleum floor with his back against the wall. Marcus called 3 times. He ignored all of them. The night nurses gave him strange looks, but didn't ask questions. The stack of hundreds he'd handed the head nurse had bought their silence. Dawn was breaking through the windows when he heard the scream. Anton was through the door before his mind fully registered the sound. Sophie was pressed against the headboard, pointing at him with a shaking hand, her face white with terror. "It's him. Mama, it's him. The man from the posters." Lila was already out of bed, ripping the 4 from her arm. Blood dripped down her wrist as she grabbed Sophie and pushed her behind her body. "Stay away from her." Lila's voice was raw with fear. "I swear to God, Anton, if you touch her." "What posters?" Anton stopped in the doorway, hands raised. "Sophie, What are you talking about? Don't talk to her. Lila snapped. Don't even look at her. But Sophie was staring at him now, her small body trembling. You're the king. The king of the bad men. Mama showed me your picture. She said if I ever saw you, I should run and never stop running. Anton felt something cold settle in his stomach. Lila, what the hell? You wanted to know what happened? Lila's laugh was sharp, almost hysterical. You happened, Anton. Your family. Your business. Your empire built on blood and bodies. She grabbed her jacket from the chair, wrapping it around Sophie. We've been running from your network for 10 years. Every city we settled in, your people found us. Chicago.
Detroit.
Philadelphia. Every time we thought we were safe, someone would show up asking questions. That doesn't make sense. Anton stepped into the room, and Lila immediately backed toward the window. I told you. I thought you were dead. Then your men are really good at following ghosts. Sophie was crying now, quiet sobs that made her whole body shake. She kept peeking around her mother's side to look at Anton, like she couldn't believe a monster from her nightmares had become real. How old is she? Anton asked quietly. Lila's jaw clenched. That's none of your business. 9? 10. Stop. Because if she's 9, that means you were pregnant when you disappeared. That means... It means nothing. Lila's voice rose, and Sophie flinched. She immediately lowered it, stroking her daughter's hair. It means I got out. That's all that matters. Anton looked at Sophie, really looked at her. The dark hair, the brown eyes, the way she bit her lip when she was scared, just like her mother. Just like he did. Jesus, Lila, he whispered. Is she? Don't. Lila's voice was a warning. Don't you dare. But the truth was there in the air between them, heavy and undeniable. Anton's mind raced back 10 years. The night before Lila disappeared. They'd been in his father's study, going over the books. She'd been crying because his father had hit him again, split his lip open for questioning a weapons deal. And Anton had been so angry, so tired, so desperate for something that wasn't violence and fear. They'd kissed. Just once. And then she'd pulled away, terrified, saying it could never happen again. That his father would kill them both if he found out. 3 days later, she was gone. You should have told me, Anton said. Why? Lila's eyes were blazing now. So, you could take her from me? So your council could use her as leverage? She's not part of your world, Anton. She never will be.
Nanga.
Sophie's voice was small, scared. Is he really the king? Lila knelt down, taking her daughter's face in her hands. Baby, listen to me. We're going to leave now, okay? Just like we always do. Just like we practiced. But you're sick, the doctor said. I'm fine, Lila stood, swaying slightly. We'll be fine. We always are. Anton moved to block the door. You can't leave. You're dehydrated and malnourished. Your daughter hasn't had a decent meal in God knows how long. Where are you going to go? Anywhere but here. They'll find you again. You said it yourself, they always do. Then we'll keep running. Lila's voice broke. Because running is better than being dead, and dead is what we'll be if we stay anywhere near you. Not if I protect you. You? Lila stared at him like he'd lost his mind. You're the reason we need protecting. Don't you get it? Your syndicate, your council, your whole damn empire. They're the ones hunting us. And you want me to believe you'll keep us safe? Yes. Why should I trust you? Anton met her eyes. Because I'm starting to think the same people who try to kill you are the same people who've been lying to me for 10 years. And I'm going to find out why. Lila hesitated. Just for a second. But it was enough. Mama, Sophie whispered, tugging on her mother's jacket.
I'm hungry.
Lila closed her eyes, and Anton saw the moment she broke. Not completely. Just enough. One day, she said finally, her voice barely audible. You have one day to prove you're not the monster I think you are. Then we're gone. Anton nodded. One day. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. One day wouldn't be enough to fix 10 years of lies. The Valerio estate sat on 40 acres of manicured grounds outside the city, surrounded by walls that could stop a tank. Anton hadn't been back since the night before the dockyard meeting, and pulling through the iron gates felt like walking into enemy territory. His own home. Marcus met him in the driveway, tension written across his face. "Boss, where the hell have you been? The council's been calling." Diego's body turned up, and the Rossellis are making noise about the missing shipment. "Get everyone in the conference room.
Now."
Marcus blinked. Everyone. Every council member. "I don't care what they're doing. Get them here in 30 minutes. "Anton, what's going on?" But Anton was already walking toward the East Wing, toward the rooms he never entered. His father's old office. The place where Victor Valerio had built an empire on secrets and blood. The office was exactly as he remembered. Dark wood, expensive furniture, walls lined with books his father had never read. Anton went straight to the desk and started pulling open drawers. "What are you looking for?" Marcus had followed him in. "Files. Financial records. Anything from 10 years ago. That's all archived. Digital storage, encrypted." Then, unencrypted, Anton turned to face him. "Lila Moreno. What do you remember about her?" Marcus's expression shifted, became carefully neutral. "The bookkeeper who stole from us? Not much. That was before my time in the inner circle. But you know the story. Everyone knows the story. She took $500,000 and ran. Your father sent men after her. They found her burned to death in a Philadelphia apartment. Case closed." "What if it isn't closed?" Marcus went very still. "What are you saying?" Anton moved to the window, looking out at the gardens where he used to play as a kid, where Lila used to meet him, sneaking away from her bookkeeping duties to make sure he ate lunch. "I'm saying I need to see the files. All of them. The financial records from that month. The reports from the men who went after her. Everything." Anton, Marcus's voice dropped. "If the council finds out you're digging into this, let them find out." 28 minutes later, Anton walked into the conference room where 5 men sat waiting. These were the pillars of his empire, the ones who'd supported his father, then transferred their loyalty to him when Victor died. Robert Castellano, 56, arms and logistics. Thick neck, thicker wallet. David Chun, 48, money laundering and overseas connections. Always smiling, never joking. Thomas Ricci, 61, enforcement and security. Ex-military, current psychopath. James Gallagher, 53, political connections and legal cover. Smooth as oil, twice as dirty. And Vincent Russo, 64, the oldest and most powerful. The one who'd been Victor's right hand, who'd guided Anton through those first brutal years. They all looked annoyed at being summoned. "Gentlemen," Anton said, taking his seat at the head of the table. "Let's talk about Lila Moreno." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Vincent leaned back in his chair. "That's ancient history, Anton. Why bring up old ghosts?" "Because I want to understand what happened. Walk me through it." Robert exchanged glances with David. "You already know what happened. She stole $500,000 from the main operating account. Your father found out, sent men after her.
She's dead.
End of story. Humor me. Where exactly did the money go?" "Offshore accounts," James said smoothly. "Cayman Islands. We traced it that far. Then the trail went cold." "And the men who found her?" "Tommy Rodriguez and Jake Sullivan." Thomas spoke for the first time, his voice flat. "Good soldiers. They tracked her to Philadelphia, found her in an apartment. She'd barricaded herself in, set a fire rather than face interrogation. They barely got out themselves." Anton nodded slowly. "And the body?" "Burned beyond recognition," Vincent said. "The dental records confirmed it was her." "Interesting." Anton pulled out his phone and set it on the table. "Because I have a hacker who just spent the last 3 hours breaking into our archived financial systems. And he found something fascinating." The room went very quiet. "That $500,000? Anton continued. "It didn't go to the Cayman Islands. It went to 3 separate accounts belonging to shell corporations registered to dummy names. Corporations that, when traced back far enough, connect to people in this room. That's impossible, David said, but his smile had vanished. Is it? Anton stood up, planting his hands on the table. Because my hacker also found purchase records, real estate, stock portfolios, all bought in the weeks after Lila disappeared, all adding up to about $500,000. Vincent's face had gone pale. Anton, you need to be very careful about what you're accusing us of. I'm not accusing. I'm stating facts. Anton looked at each of them in turn. You framed her. You stole that money and blamed it on a 20-year-old girl who couldn't fight back. And when she found out, you tried to kill her. This is insane, Robert growled. Where is this coming from? It's coming from the fact that Lila Moreno isn't dead. The silence that followed was absolute. Thomas was the first to move, his hand sliding toward his jacket. Anton had his gun out before Thomas's fingers touched metal. Don't. Thomas froze. She's alive, Anton continued, his voice deadly calm. And she's been running from your men for 10 years. Men I never authorized. Operations I knew nothing about. Which means you've been running a shadow network under my nose this entire time. Vincent stood slowly. Put the gun down, Anton. Let's talk about this like civilized people. Civilized? Anton laughed, the sound harsh. You tried to murder an innocent woman. You've been lying to me for a decade. And you're still sending people after her. She has evidence, James said quietly. Evidence that could destroy everything we've built. Evidence of what? The 5 men exchanged looks. Finally, Vincent sighed. Your father wasn't just running guns and drugs, Anton. There were other operations. Things we kept from you because you were young, idealistic. Things Lila discovered. What things? It doesn't matter, Thomas growled. What matters is she needs to disappear.
Permanently.
And if you're protecting her, then what? Anton's finger tightened on the trigger. You'll kill me too. No one answered. And in that silence, Anton realized the truth. He'd never really been in control. He'd been a puppet king, and these men had been pulling the strings all along. Get out, he said quietly. All of you. And if I find out you've gone anywhere near Lila or her daughter, I'll kill you myself. They left, but Anton knew it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Anton returned to the hospital at dawn to find Lila sitting in the garden courtyard, wrapped in a thin blanket. Sophie was asleep on the bench beside her, head in her mother's lap. He'd brought food, real food, not hospital cafeteria garbage. Sandwiches, fruit, juice boxes for Sophie. Lila's eyes tracked the bag in his hands, but she didn't reach for it. You came back, she said flatly. I said I would. He set the bag on the bench. You should eat. I should run, but she didn't move. Just kept stroking Sophie's hair with mechanical precision. That's what we always do. Stay too long in one place and they find us. Anton sat on the opposite bench, giving her space. The morning was cold, fog rolling through the garden like ghosts. I talked to my counsel last night. Lila's hand stilled. And you were right. They lied to me. About the money. About your death. About everything. Congratulations. You figured out your empire is built on lies. Her voice was bitter. What do you want to meddle? I want the truth. All of it. Lila looked at him for a long moment. Then she laughed, a broken, painful sound that made Sophie stir in her sleep. The truth? She shook her head.
Fine.
You want the truth? Your father was running a human trafficking operation. Young girls, mostly. Some from Eastern Europe, some from South America. He'd bring them in through the ports, sell them to the highest bidder. And your precious counsel, every single one of them, was in on it. Anton felt sick. That's not possible. Isn't it? Lila's eyes were hard. Think about it, Anton. All those special shipments your father handled personally. All those locked warehouses you were never allowed to enter. All those offshore accounts that didn't match up with the drug and weapons money. He wanted to deny it. But pieces were clicking into place. Conversations he'd overheard as a kid, his father's private meetings, the way certain ledgers were always kept separate. I was 20 years old, Lila continued, her voice shaking now. Just a bookkeeper trying to help my mom pay rent. Your father hired me because I was good with numbers and I didn't ask questions. But then I started noticing discrepancies. Money moving in ways that didn't make sense. So I dug deeper. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself. I found everything. Spreadsheets with girls' names next to dollar amounts. Shipping manifests disguised as furniture imports. Payments to cops, judges, politicians, everyone who helped keep it running smooth. I made copies. Hid them. And I went to your father.
Jesus, Lila.
I thought he'd stop it. I thought. Her voice cracked. I was so stupid. I thought if I threatened to expose him, he'd shut it down. Instead, he smiled at me. Told me I was smart. Told me he'd pay me to keep quiet. And when I refused... She touched her side, and Anton saw her wince. He beat me unconscious. When I woke up, I was in the basement of one of his warehouses. Vincent was there. Robert. Thomas. They told me I had two choices: disappear forever, or they'd make me one of the girls they sold. They'd already faked the theft. Already set up the offshore accounts in my name. Already planted the evidence. Anton's hands clenched into fists. How did you escape? I didn't. Not at first. Lila's eyes were distant, seeing something Anton couldn't. They locked me in that basement for 3 days. I was terrified. Starving. And then I realized I was pregnant. She looked down at Sophie, her expression softening for the first time. I hadn't known. It was one night, Anton. One stupid night when we were both broken and looking for something good in all that darkness. And suddenly I had this life inside me, and I knew I had to survive. For her. How did you get out? Tommy Rodriguez. Lila's laugh was hollow. The man they sent to kill me. He was young, newer to the organization. I begged him. Told him about the baby. Told him I had evidence that could bring down everyone, including people he cared about. He made a choice. He let you go.
He did better than that.
He helped me fake my death. Set fire to that apartment with someone else's body inside, a Jane Doe from the morgue he had access to. Switched the dental records. As far as the Valerio syndicate knew, I burned alive. Anton remembered Tommy. Good kid. Loyal. He died 2 years later in a gang war. Or at least, that's what they'd been told. But it didn't end there, Lila continued. I ran. Chicago first, working under fake names, constantly moving. But they kept finding me. Not all at once, sometimes months would go by. Then someone would ask the wrong questions. Show my picture around. And we'd have to run again. They've been hunting you for 10 years. Not hunting. Watching. Lila's voice dropped. Making sure I never got comfortable. Never had time to think about using that evidence. They wanted me scared, powerless, focused only on survival. And it worked. Sophie started to wake up, making small sounds. Lila immediately shifted into mother mode, smoothing her daughter's hair, whispering soothing words. Anton watched them and felt something break inside him. This woman, this girl he'd cared about, who'd saved him more times than he could count, had spent a decade living in hell because of his family. Because of him. Where's the evidence now? He asked quietly. Lila met his eyes. In a place they'll never find it. My insurance policy. The only reason we're still alive. I need to see it.
Why?
So you can destroy it? Protect your precious counsel? No, Anton leaned forward. So, I can burn them all down. The first gunshot shattered the garden's peace at 9:47 a.m. Anton's instincts kicked in before his mind registered the sound. He grabbed Lila and Sophie, pulling them down behind the concrete bench as bullets chewed through the rose bushes where they'd been sitting. Stay down, he shouted, drawing his weapon. Sophie was screaming. Lila covered her daughter's body with her own, eyes wide with a kind of terror that came from knowing this moment would arrive eventually. How did they find us? Lila gasped. Anton's mind raced. The forged hospital records. The fake name. He'd been so careful, but careful didn't matter when you were dealing with people who had unlimited resources and no conscience. Another volley of gunfire. The hospital windows above them exploded, raining glass down on the courtyard. Somewhere inside, people were screaming. Anton counted the shots. 3 shooters, maybe 4. Professional spacing. This wasn't some random hit, this was a tactical team. His phone buzzed. Marcus. They're inside the building. Marcus's voice was tight. 2 at the front entrance, 2 coming through the parking garage. I'm 3 minutes out with backup. We don't have 3 minutes. Anton scanned the courtyard. They were pinned down, completely exposed. The only exit was through the building, which meant running straight toward the shooters. Unless. The maintenance tunnel, he said, remembering the hospital blueprints he'd studied last night. Every major building had them. Underground passages for utilities and emergency access. Lila stared at him. What? There's a service entrance, near the west wall. Leads to underground tunnels. He fired 3 shots toward the garden entrance, buying them seconds. Can you run? I don't have a choice. Anton grabbed Sophie, lifting her into his arms despite her struggles. Don't fight me, kid. I'm trying to save your life. Let go of her. Lila was reaching for her daughter, panic overriding reason. Lila, focus. Anton's voice cut through her fear. I need you to stay right behind me. Don't stop, don't look back. Understand? She hesitated, then nodded. They moved. Anton ran low, using the benches and planters for cover. Behind them, bullets sparked off concrete. Sophie had her face buried in his shoulder, her small body rigid with fear. Lila kept pace, her breathing labored but steady. The service door was locked. Anton shot the handle off and kicked it open, revealing a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. Go, go, go. They plunged into the shadows just as more gunfire erupted behind them. Anton slammed the door shut and shoved a metal trash can against it. Wouldn't hold long, but it might buy them 30 seconds. The tunnel was exactly as he'd pictured. Concrete walls, exposed pipes, emergency lighting casting everything in red. The air smelled like mold and chemicals. Which way? Lila gasped. Anton oriented himself. The tunnel should run east-west, with exits at either end. East led to the main street, too exposed. West led to the old industrial district.
West.
Come on. They ran through the tunnel, Sophie bouncing in Anton's arms. Behind them, the service door crashed open. Footsteps echoed in the confined space. They're coming. Lila's voice was raw with fear. Anton spotted a junction ahead. The tunnel split into 3 directions. He made a split-second decision, veering right into a narrower passage. The walls here were older, the lighting sporadic. Anton. Lila stumbled, her strength finally giving out. He couldn't stop, couldn't slow down. But he saw her faltering, saw the way her legs were shaking. Almost there, he lied. Just a little further. More gunshots. Closer now. A bullet ricocheted off the pipes above their heads, and Sophie screamed. Then Anton saw it, a ladder leading up to a maintenance hatch. Freedom. Up. He set Sophie down and practically threw Lila at the ladder. Climb.
She didn't argue.
Started climbing with her daughter right behind her. Anton turned back, firing blind into the tunnel to slow their pursuers. 4 shots left in his magazine. The hatch opened above him, gray daylight flooding in. Lila's face appeared, reaching down. Come on. Anton grabbed the ladder and climbed. Behind him, 2 figures rounded the corner. He fired twice without looking, heard someone curse.
2 shots left.
He emerged into an alley behind an abandoned factory. Lila was already pulling Sophie away from the hatch. Anton slammed it shut and looked around desperately for something to block it with. A dumpster. He ran to it, started pushing. It was full, heavy, but adrenaline gave him strength he didn't know he had. The hatch started to open. Anton shoved harder. The dumpster moved 6 inches. A foot. The hatch pushed up against it, but couldn't open fully. Run. Anton grabbed Lila's hand, and they ran. They made it 3 blocks before Lila collapsed against a brick wall, her breathing coming in ragged gasps. Sophie was crying, clutching her mother's jacket. Anton checked behind them.
No pursuit. Yet.
He pulled out his phone and called Marcus. Where are you? 5 blocks from the hospital. Anton, it's a bloodbath. They killed 3 nurses, 2 security guards. Meet us at the old Rivera safe house. The one from '08. And Marcus? Don't tell anyone where we're going. Boss, the council needs to know. The council sent them. Anton looked at Lila, saw the way she was shaking. We're on our own. He hung up and knelt beside Lila. For the first time, he saw her guard completely down. She wasn't angry anymore, just terrified, exhausted. You saved us, she whispered. I put you in danger in the first place. No, she reached out, her hand finding his. You risked yourself. For us. I saw you, Anton. The way you covered Sophie. The way you. She stopped, her certainty cracking. And Anton realized. She was starting to believe him. The Rivera safe house sat 15 miles outside the city, hidden at the end of a dirt road that wound through thick pine forests. It had belonged to Anton's mother before she died, a place she'd escaped to when his father's violence became too much to bear. Anton hadn't been here in 8 years. The key was still under the 3rd porch step, wrapped in plastic. His mother's small rebellion, keeping something his father didn't control. Anton unlocked the door and ushered Lila and Sophie inside. The place was dusty but intact. 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room with furniture covered in white sheets. It looked frozen in time, like his mother might walk out of the bedroom at any moment. We'll be safe here, Anton said, though he wasn't sure he believed it. No one knows about this place. Lila set Sophie down on the couch and immediately started checking the windows, the doors, the sight lines. Old habits. How long until they find us? I don't know.
Days, maybe.
Maybe hours. That's not very reassuring. I'm not going to lie to you. Sophie hadn't said a word since the tunnel. She sat perfectly still, her teddy bear clutched to her chest, staring at nothing. Anton recognized that look. He'd worn it himself as a kid after his father's worst nights.
Shock.
Trauma. The mind's way of shutting down when reality became too much. She needs food, Lila said quietly. And sleep. And her voice broke. God, I can't keep doing this to her. Anton found his mother's old pantry still stocked with canned goods. Soup, beans, crackers that were probably stale but edible. He heated up tomato soup on the stove while Lila tried to coax Sophie into talking. Baby, you're okay. We're safe now. Mama's here. But Sophie just stared. Anton brought over a bowl of soup, kneeling in front of the little girl. Up close, he could see so much of himself in her face. The shape of her jaw, the way her eyebrows drew together, even the small dimple in her left cheek that he'd inherited from his mother. His daughter. The weight of that hit him all over again. Sophie, he said softly. I know you're scared. I know you think I'm a bad person. And maybe you're right. But I promise you, I'm not going to let anyone hurt you. Not ever again. Sophie's eyes finally focused on him. You shot people. I did. Mama says shooting people is wrong. Your mama is right. Then why did you do it? Anton glanced at Lila, who was watching him with an unreadable expression. He turned back to Sophie. Because those people were trying to hurt you. And sometimes, when people you love are in danger, you have to do wrong things to keep them safe. Do you love us? Sophie's voice was small, uncertain. The question knocked the air from his lungs. It's okay if you don't, Sophie continued. Nobody loves us. That's what Mama says. She says we only have each other. Lila made a small, broken sound. Baby, I didn't mean. But you saved us, Sophie said, still looking at Anton. Bad people don't save people. Mama told me that too. Anton's throat felt tight. Your mama is a very smart woman. She cries at night. When she thinks I'm sleeping. She cries and says she's sorry for making our life hard. Sophie. Lila was crying now, trying to hide it. It's not Mama's fault, Sophie said fiercely. It's the bad men's fault. The ones who chase us. She looked at Anton. Are you one of the bad men? I used to be, Anton said honestly. I'm trying not to be anymore. Sophie studied him for a long moment. Then she picked up her teddy bear, the one with the torn ear and missing eye, and held it out to him.
He's broken, she said.
Can you fix him? Anton took the bear carefully, like it was made of glass. I can try. He found his mother's old sewing kit in the bathroom. She'd been good with her hands, always mending things his father broke. Anton sat on the floor while Sophie watched, carefully stitching the bear's ear back in place. His hands, which had killed men, pulled triggers, broken bones. Now they threaded a needle through worn fabric. My mama made him, Sophie said quietly. Before I was born. She says he's my guardian angel. Then he must be pretty tough.
He is.
He's survived 7 cities. And he never complains, even when we have to sleep outside. 7 cities. 10 years. Anton did the math. They'd moved almost once a year, sometimes more. Never settling. Never safe. He finished the ear and started on the missing button eye, using one from his mother's collection. There, he said finally, handing it back. Good as new. Sophie hugged the bear tight, and for the first time since the hospital, she smiled. It was small, tentative, but it was real. Thank you, she whispered. You're welcome. Sophie took the soup bowl and started eating. Lila watched her daughter, then looked at Anton with something that might have been gratitude. Or maybe just exhaustion. You're good with her, Lila said. I'm not good with anything. That's not true. She moved closer, her voice dropping. You could have left us. Could have walked away. But you're here. You're trying. Trying doesn't undo 10 years. No, Lila agreed. But it's a start. Outside, the sun was setting through the pines. For a moment, just one moment, it felt like they might actually survive this. Then Anton's phone buzzed. Marcus. They know about the safe house. You have maybe 3 hours. Maybe less. Anton looked at Lila, at Sophie eating soup with her fixed teddy bear, and made a decision. I won't let anyone touch you, he said quietly. Not again. But he knew what was coming. And this time, there would be no running. Anton's phone rang at midnight. Vincent Russo's name lit up the screen. He'd been expecting this call.
Dreading it.
Anton, Vincent's voice was calm, almost paternal. We need to talk about the situation. There's nothing to talk about. I think there is. You're harboring a wanted fugitive. You've cut off communication with the council. You shot at Thomas's men at the hospital. They killed innocent people. Collateral damage. Regrettable, but necessary, Vincent sighed. Son, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Just give us the girl. We'll make it quick, painless. Her daughter will be placed in a good home.
No.
The silence stretched. I'm sorry you feel that way, Vincent said finally. I truly am. The line went dead. Anton looked at Lila, who stood in the doorway, her face pale. She'd heard everything. They're coming, aren't they? She asked. Yes. Then we run.
Now.
We take Sophie and... There's nowhere left to run, Lila. Anton set his phone down. They found this place. They'll find the next one. And the one after that. Running is just dying slowly. So, what do you suggest? We stay here and wait for them to kill us. No, Anton stood, his mind already working through possibilities. We fight back. Fight back. Lila's laugh was almost hysterical. Anton, you're one man. They have armies, resources, politicians in their pockets. We can't. You have the evidence. She went still. What? The evidence you've been carrying for 10 years. Everything on my father's trafficking operation. On the council. That's your weapon, Lila. That's how we win. If I release that evidence, they'll kill us even faster. Not if we do it right. Not if we make it so destroying us destroys them too. Lila stared at him. You're talking about burning down your own empire. It was never my empire. It was theirs. I've been a puppet, and I'm done dancing on their strings. The next morning, Anton drove alone to the Valerio Syndicate headquarters, a nondescript office building downtown that fronted as an import-export company. Marcus met him in the parking garage, his expression grave. Boss, this is a mistake. The council is ready for war. They've called in reinforcements from the Chicago and Boston families.
Good.
Let them come. Anton. I need you to make a choice, Marcus. Anton turned to face his second-in-command. Are you with me or with them? Marcus hesitated. Anton could see the calculation in his eyes. Loyalty versus survival, friendship versus self-preservation. What are you planning? Marcus asked finally.
To tell the truth.
The conference room was packed. Not just the 5 council members, but their top lieutenants, their enforcers, their lawyers. 20 men, all armed, all staring at Anton like he was already dead. Vincent sat at the far end of the table, looking disappointed. Anton, he said, I'm glad you came. We were hoping to resolve this peacefully. Were you? Anton walked to the head of the table, to his father's old chair. He didn't sit. Because sending a hit squad to a hospital doesn't seem very peaceful. You gave us no choice. The Moreno woman has information that threatens everything we've built. You mean everything you've stolen? Everything you've murdered for? Robert stood up, his face red. Watch your mouth, boy. You might be Victor's son, but you're not untouchable. No, Anton agreed. None of us are. That's the point. He pulled out a USB drive and set it on the table. This is a copy of Lila Moreno's evidence. Financial records, shipping manifests, witness testimonies. Everything documenting the human trafficking operation my father ran. Everything showing how the 5 of you profited from it. The room erupted. Men shouting, reaching for weapons. Vincent held up a hand, silencing them. You're bluffing, he said calmly. If you had that evidence, you'd have used it already. I'm not done, Anton's voice cut through the noise. I've also spent the last 12 hours compiling my own evidence. Every illegal operation this organization has run in the past 10 years. Every murder, every bribe, every dirty deal. And in about, he checked his watch, 6 hours if I don't make a specific phone call, all of it gets released.
To the FBI.
To every major news outlet. To our rivals who would love to see us destroyed. Dead silence. You're insane, Thomas growled. You destroy yourself. Absolutely. But I'll take all of you with me. Vincent's face had gone cold. You'd burn down everything your father built. Everything we've given you. My father built nothing but misery. And you didn't give me anything. You used me as a figurehead while you ran your operations behind my back. Anton leaned forward, his voice deadly quiet. For 10 years, you've hunted an innocent woman and her child. You've killed. You've lied. And you did it all in my name. So yes, Vincent. I'm going to burn it all down. Then you'll die too, David said. Maybe. But at least I'll die clean. James stood slowly, his hand moving toward his jacket. You really think we're going to let you walk out of here? Anton pulled his gun, aiming it at Vincent. You're going to let me walk out. And you're going to leave Lila and her daughter alone. Because if anything happens to them, if they so much as get a parking ticket, everything gets released. And if something happens to you? Vincent asked. Then it gets released automatically. I've set up a dead man switch.
No control.
The information goes out to everyone. Robert slammed his fist on the table. This is treason. No, Anton said. This is justice. He backed toward the door, gun still trained on Vincent. You're making a mistake, Vincent called after him. You can't win this fight. Watch me. Anton left the building knowing he'd just declared war on the most dangerous men in the city. But for the first time in 10 years, he felt like he was finally on the right side. Anton returned to the safe house to find Lila pacing like a caged animal. Sophie was asleep on the couch, finally exhausted enough to rest despite everything. Well, Lila whispered. What happened? I made them an offer they couldn't refuse. Anton locked the door behind him, checking the windows out of habit. And they refused it anyway. Anton. They're coming for us, Lila. All of them. I've bought us maybe a day, maybe less. He turned to face her. I need that evidence. All of it.
Now.
Lila's hand went instinctively to her jacket pocket. If I give this to you, you're not giving it to me. We're using it together. Anton moved closer, his voice urgent. I told them I'd release everything if they touched you. But they don't believe I actually have it. They think I'm bluffing. Are you? Not anymore. Show me what you've been protecting all these years. Lila hesitated, her fingers closing around something in her pocket. Finally, she pulled out a small USB drive on a chain around her neck. She'd been wearing it this whole time, hidden under her shirt. This is it, she said quietly. This is why we've been running. Why people have died. Why, her voice broke. Why my daughter doesn't know what it's like to have a home. Anton took the drive carefully, like it might explode. In a way, it would. He plugged it into his laptop and started scrolling through the files. What he saw made his stomach turn. Spreadsheets with names. Girls as young as 13, some even younger. Countries of origin, dates of arrival, prices paid. Names he recognized, politicians, business leaders, people his father had called friends. Shipping manifests disguised as furniture imports, but the details were too specific. Heights, weights, ages. Not furniture.
People.
Bank transfers. Millions of dollars moving through shell corporations, ending up in accounts belonging to Vincent, Robert, Thomas, David, James. And his father. Always his father. Then he found the photos. Girls in cages. Girls bruised and broken. Girls who looked at the camera with eyes that had already died. Anton had to stop, push the laptop away, breathe. He'd known his father was a monster. But seeing the proof, seeing the faces of the people his family had destroyed, made it real in a way that turned his insides to ice. I can't look at these anymore, Lila said from behind him. She was crying silently. I've seen them 1,000 times and I still can't. How did you get all this? Your father kept paper records. Old school, hard to trace. I found them in his office, photographed everything. Then I hacked his computer, found the digital files. Took me 3 months, she wiped her eyes. I kept thinking I'd find something that proved it wasn't as bad as it looked. Some explanation that made sense. But it just kept getting worse. Anton scrolled further. Witness statements from girls who'd escaped. Testimonies describing the warehouses, the handlers, the clients. One girl described Vincent Russo personally, selecting her from a lineup. Another described Thomas Ricci beating her friend to death for trying to run. There's more, Lila said quietly. Keep going. The next folder made Anton's blood run cold. Video files. Security footage from the warehouses. And in one of them, dated 11 years ago, was his father, Victor Valerio, walking through a facility filled with cages. Smiling. Shaking hands with buyers. I've shown this to 3 journalists over the years, Lila said. One disappeared. One published the story and was killed in a car accident 2 days later. The third told me to lose his number and never contact him again. Because they were protecting themselves. Because your family's reach is that far. Even now, with your father dead, the network is still running. Different faces, same business. She sat down beside him. That's why the council wants me dead so badly. It's not just about what your father did. It's about what they're still doing. Anton looked at her sharply. What do you mean? Keep scrolling.
He did.
The files got more recent. The past 5 years. Then 3 years. Then last year. New names. New transactions. But the same accounts. The same shell corporations. They didn't stop when your father died, Lila said. They just got better at hiding it. And they kept me running so I'd be too scared to look closely, too busy surviving to realize they were still operating. Anton felt physically sick. All this time, while he thought he was cleaning up his father's legacy, building something different, they'd been running the same horror show right under his nose. How many? He asked, his voice barely audible. How many what? How many girls? Total. How many lives did they destroy? Lila was quiet for a long moment. Over 300. That I know of. The real number is probably higher. 300. Anton closed his eyes. 300 daughters. 300 people with families, dreams, futures. All of them stolen.
Sold.
Destroyed. And he'd been the face of the organization that did it.
I'm sorry, Lila said.
I know he was your father. Don't, Anton's voice was hard. Don't apologize for showing me the truth. He looked at Sophie, still sleeping on the couch. She was the same age as some of the girls in those photos. Could have been one of them, if circumstances had been different. We're releasing it all, he said. Everything. Tonight. Anton, if we do that, we burn down the whole empire. I know, he turned to her. But that's the point. These men, my father's men, they can't be allowed to continue, even if it means destroying myself in the process. Lila studied his face. You really mean that? Yes. Then we do it together, she took his hand. But we do it smart. We need insurance. Multiple copies, multiple releases. We need. A crash from upstairs cut her off. They weren't alone. Anton had his gun out before the second crash sounded. Lila was already moving towards Sophie, scooping the little girl into her arms as she jolted awake. Basement, Anton hissed.
Now, Nanga.
Sophie's voice was thick with sleep and fear. What's happening? Shh, baby. Stay quiet. The window exploded inward. Glass shattered across the living room floor as a canister rolled through. Smoke grenade. Within seconds, the room was filling with gray fog. Anton fired twice at the window, heard someone curse outside. Move! They ran for the basement door. Behind them, the front door splintered under a battering ram. Men poured in 6, 8. Anton couldn't count through the smoke. Down. Anton shoved Lila and Sophie through the basement doorway and turned back, firing blind into the smoke. Someone screamed. Someone else returned fire, bullets punching through the walls. Anton descended the stairs backward, gun trained on the doorway. His phone buzzed. Marcus. We're 2 minutes out. Hold on. 2 minutes might as well be 2 hours. The basement was unfinished, concrete floor, exposed beams, one small window high on the wall. His mother's old storage boxes were stacked against the far wall. Lila had Sophie pressed behind them, trying to make her daughter as small as possible. There's no way out, Lila said, her voice trembling but controlled. We're trapped. The window. Too small for adults. Sophie could fit, but she looked at her daughter, and Anton saw the calculation in her eyes.
Save one of them, at least.
No, Anton said. We all get out or none of us do. Footsteps thundered on the floor above. Men shouting coordinates, clearing rooms. Professional. Military trained. Anton grabbed one of his mother's old storage boxes and shoved it under the window. Sophie, climb up.
Get ready.
The little girl was crying, but she obeyed. Lila helped her up, whispering frantically in her ear. The basement door flew open. Anton fired 3 times. A body fell down the stairs, but 2 more men came behind it. He dove behind the water heater as bullets sparked off the concrete floor. Anton Valerio. A voice from upstairs. Thomas Ricci. You're surrounded. Send out the woman and the kid, and you might live through this. Go to hell. Your choice. More men flooded down the stairs. Anton fired until his magazine was empty, then ejected it, reaching for his spare. A bullet caught him in the shoulder. The impact spun him around, sent him crashing into the wall. Pain exploded through his arm, white-hot and blinding. Anton, Lila's scream. He tried to raise his gun, but his arm wasn't working. Blood soaked through his shirt, hot and sticky. 4 men advanced across the basement, weapons trained on him. Behind them, Thomas Ricci descended the stairs slowly, smiling. Should have taken the deal, kid. Anton tried to stand, slipped in his own blood. His vision was starting to blur at the edges. Then Lila stepped between him and the guns. Stop. Her voice rang out. Just stop. Thomas raised an eyebrow.
Well,
the infamous Lila Moreno. You've caused us a lot of trouble. I have the evidence, Lila said quickly. Everything. Right here. She pulled the USB drive from around her neck. You can have it. Just let them go. Lila, no. Anton tried to grab her, but his wounded arm couldn't reach. Mama, don't. Sophie was sobbing from her perch by the window. Interesting offer, Thomas said. But I think we'll just kill all of you and take the drive anyway. He raised his gun. Lila moved. She threw herself at Thomas, not away from him, grabbed his gun arm, forced it up. The shot went wild, punching through the ceiling. Run, she screamed at Sophie. Run and don't stop. Everything happened at once. The small window shattered as Sophie kicked it out and squeezed through. Lila and Thomas struggling over the gun. Anton forcing himself up despite the agony in his shoulder, despite the blood loss, despite everything. A gunshot. Lila stumbled backward, her hand pressed to her side. Blood seeped between her fingers.
No.
Anton's roar was primal, inhuman. He didn't remember crossing the basement. Didn't remember tackling Thomas. Didn't remember taking the gun from his hands and beating him with it until the man stopped moving. He just remembered Lila falling and catching her before she hit the ground. Anton, she gasped. Blood on her lips. Sophie. She's out. She's safe. More footsteps on the stairs. But these were different, lighter, faster. Marcus burst into the basement with 6 men, guns blazing. The mercenaries never stood a chance. The firefight lasted 30 seconds. When it was over, 5 bodies littered the basement floor. Marcus knelt beside Anton.
Jesus Christ.
We need to get you both to a hospital. No hospital, Anton said. They'll find us again. Boss, you're both going to die. Then we die. But first, Anton looked at Lila. Her eyes were fluttering, consciousness fading. First we finish this. He pulled out his phone with his good hand. The screen was cracked, slick with blood, but it still worked. He opened his email, attached every file from Lila's USB drive, added his own documentation, then typed in 50 email addresses: FBI, CIA, journalists, rival gangs, international authorities. His finger hovered over the send button. Lila, he said. This is it. Once I do this, there's no going back. They'll destroy us. Hunt us forever. Is this what you want? She opened her eyes, found his face, smiled weakly. Burn it down, she whispered. Anton pressed send. In a warehouse across town, Vincent Russo's phone buzzed. He read the message and went pale. It's over, he said to the men around him. He actually did it. He released everything. Within an hour, every major news outlet in the country would have the story. Within a day, the FBI would be kicking down doors. The Valerio syndicate was finished. And Anton Valerio had just become the most wanted man in America. The world exploded in 48 hours. Anton watched it happen from a safe house Marcus had secured, a hunting cabin 50 miles north, off the grid, owned by a cousin who asked no questions. Lila lay on the couch, pale but stable. The bullet had gone through her side, cleanly. Marcus's doctor, a former army medic who owed Marcus's life, had patched them both up and disappeared without taking payment. Sophie sat between them, holding both their hands, refusing to let go. On the laptop screen, the news cycled through the same story with increasing hysteria. Breaking news: massive human trafficking ring exposed. Evidence implicates the Valerio crime family and dozens of prominent figures. FBI raids across 3 states. At least 15 arrests so far, more expected. Senator Marcus Hewitt found dead in apparent suicide. Sources say he was named in the leaked documents. Anton watched faces he'd known his whole life appear on screen in handcuffs. David Chun, being dragged from his mansion, shouting about his lawyers. James Gallagher, arrested at the airport trying to flee to Switzerland. Robert Castellano, shot dead resisting arrest. Vincent Russo's face appeared, his mugshot from 20 years ago alongside a current photo. Wanted for human trafficking, murder, racketeering. Considered armed and extremely dangerous. He'd gone underground. They all had, the ones who hadn't been caught yet. Boss, Marcus said from the doorway. The FBI's holding a press conference. Anton turned up the volume. A woman in a dark suit stood at a podium, federal badges behind her. This morning, we executed coordinated raids on 17 locations connected to the Valerio criminal organization. We've recovered evidence of human trafficking operations spanning over 15 years. At least 40 victims have been located and are receiving care. The investigation is ongoing. A reporter shouted a question. Is it true Anton Valerio provided the evidence? The agent's face remained neutral. We're not commenting on active investigations. Is Anton Valerio a cooperating witness or a suspect? Both. Anton closed his eyes. There it was. He'd burned down his father's empire, but he was still part of it. Still complicit. The law didn't care that he'd been kept in the dark. He'd benefited from the blood money. He'd given orders that protected the people who did this. They're going to arrest you, Lila said quietly from the couch. When they find you. I know. We could run. Marcus could get us fake IDs, get us across the border. No more running, Anton looked at her. I'm done running from what I am. Anton, you ran for 10 years because of me, because of my family. I'm not asking you to do it again. Lila struggled to sit up, wincing. Sophie immediately tried to push her back down, but she waved her daughter off. Listen to me, Lila said, her voice fierce despite her weakness. You saved us. You destroyed everything you had to protect us. You don't get to martyr yourself now. I'm not martyring myself. I'm accepting consequences. Bullshit, Lila grabbed his hand. You want to pay for your father's sins?
Fine.
But Sophie and I don't survive without you. Do you understand that? We don't survive. Before Anton could respond, Marcus's phone rang. He answered, his face going pale.
When?
How many? He listened, then hung up. Vincent's making a move. He's called in every favor he has left, mercenaries, corrupt cops, even brought in the Rosselli family from New York. Says you're a traitor, who needs to be made an example of. How many men? 30. Maybe more. Marcus looked sick. And they know where we are. Someone talked. We've got maybe an hour. The cabin fell silent except for Sophie's quiet breathing. Get them out of here, Anton said, standing. His shoulder screamed in protest, but he ignored it. Take Lila and Sophie. Get them across the Canadian border. I'll stay, hold them off. No, Lila was standing too, swaying but determined. We're not leaving you, Lila. We're not leaving you. Anton looked at this woman, this fierce, broken, impossibly strong woman who'd survived hell to protect her daughter. Their daughter. I have an idea, he said slowly. But it's insane. Insane is all we have left, Marcus said. Anton pulled out his phone and made a call. It rang 3 times before a gruff voice answered. Agent Sarah Chen. Who is this? Anton Valerio. Silence. Then, Mr. Valerio. You're a hard man to find. Not anymore. I'm at a cabin 50 miles north of the city. GPS coordinates coming now. Vincent Russo and about 30 armed men are about to attack this location. If you want to catch him, if you want to end this, get here in the next hour. Is this a trap?
Yeah.
For him, Anton looked at Lila at Sophie. I'm surrendering myself into federal custody. I'll testify to everything I know. But I need protection for Lila Moreno and her daughter. Witness protection, new identities, the works.
Non negoziabile.
We can discuss terms. No discussion. Those are my terms. You get Vincent, you get my testimony, and they disappear forever. Deal? Anton could hear the calculation in the agent's silence. Finally, deal. But if this is a setup, it's not. Just hurry. He hung up and looked at Marcus. Get every weapon we have. We need to hold this position for 45 minutes. And then what? Then we hope the FBI is better at their job than Vincent is at his. Outside, the sun was setting. In the distance, Anton could hear engines. They were coming. The first shot shattered the cabin's front window at 6:47 p.m. Anton returned fire from behind the overturned kitchen table, counting shooters.
8, 10,
12. More than Marcus had predicted. North side. Marcus shouted, glass exploding behind him. Lila had Sophie in the bathroom, the only room without windows. She'd barricaded the door with everything she could move, her wound bleeding through the bandages but her hands steady on the pistol Anton had given her. "If they get through," he told her, "you shoot your way out and run. Don't wait for me." She looked at him like he was insane. "We leave together or not at all." Now bullets chewed through the cabin walls like they were made of paper. Anton's shoulder was on fire, blood seeping through his makeshift bandage. Marcus was already hit, a graze across his ribs that made his movements jerky. "Where the hell is the FBI?" Marcus gasped. "Coming. They're coming." Anton checked his watch. 32 minutes since the call. Not enough time. Vincent's voice boomed from outside, amplified by a megaphone. "Anton, you've got nowhere to go. Send out Moreno and her brat, and we'll make it quick." Anton didn't waste breath answering. Fired twice more. Heard someone scream. The assault intensified. They were trying to overwhelm through sheer firepower. Anton's ammunition was running low, 3 magazines left, maybe 30 rounds total. Then he heard the helicopters. Not 1, 3. Searchlights blazed to life, turning night into day. A voice through a loudspeaker, different from Vincent's. "This is the FBI. Throw down your weapons. You are surrounded." The shooting stopped. For a moment, everything was frozen. Vincent's men caught in the open, the FBI moving in with tactical precision, Anton and Marcus bleeding behind their barricade. Then chaos. Vincent's mercenaries scattered. Some tried to run, were tackled by federal agents. Others opened fire, were cut down in seconds. The FBI had come prepared, SWAT teams, armored vehicles, overwhelming force. Anton saw Vincent himself break from cover, running for the tree line. An agent brought him down with a tackle that would have made a linebacker proud. "Anton Valerio." The loudspeaker again. "Come out with your hands up." Anton looked at Marcus. "Get them out of here. There's a trail behind the cabin, leads to an old logging road. Take my car keys." "Boss."
Do it.
"Get them somewhere safe until this is sorted." Anton pressed the keys into Marcus's hand.
Please.
Marcus nodded, disappearing toward the bathroom. Anton walked out the front door, hands raised. Dozens of weapons trained on him instantly. He kept moving, slow and steady, until he was on his knees in the dirt. Agent Chin approached, her face unreadable. "Anton Valerio, you're under arrest for..." "I know what I'm under arrest for." Anton looked past her at Vincent, face down in the mud with 3 agents on top of him. "Is it over? For him?"
Yes.
"We've got 17 more in custody. The one's still alive anyway." She nodded to the medics. "Get him patched up." "Lila Moreno," Anton said as they handcuffed him. "The deal is being honored. We'll debrief her, process her testimony, then she disappears. You have my word." Anton closed his eyes, relief flooding through him. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. You're looking at serious prison time." "I know." They loaded him into an ambulance. Through the back window, he caught a glimpse of Marcus leading Lila and Sophie toward the trees. Sophie looked back, just once, her small hand raised in goodbye. Then they were gone. 10 days later, Canadian border. The van was 15 years old, bought for cash from a farmer who didn't ask questions. It rattled and coughed but kept moving north on Highway 11, toward the crossing at Rainy River. Lila drove. Marcus sat shotgun, checking the rearview mirror every 30 seconds out of habit. Sophie slept in the back, finally peaceful, her teddy bear clutched tight. They had new names now. Sarah Winters. Emma Winters. Documents that said they'd always been Canadian citizens, returning home after years in the States. The FBI had been thorough: birth certificates, school records, a rental history in Toronto. Everything they needed to disappear. "You okay?" Marcus asked quietly. Lila nodded. She wasn't, not really. Her side ached. Her hands shook when she thought about that basement, about the blood, about watching Anton get arrested while she ran like a coward. But she was alive. Sophie was alive. "What'll happen to him?" she asked. "Prison. 10 years, maybe 15 with good behavior. The prosecutor wants him as a witness against Vincent and the others. That'll help. Marcus glanced at her. He asked me to give you something. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter, Anton's handwriting barely legible. Lila, by the time you read this, you'll be safe. That's all that matters. Don't feel guilty for running. I wanted you to run. I needed you to run. I'm sorry for everything my family put you through. Sorry for the 10 years you lost. Sorry Sophie had to grow up afraid. If I could undo it all, I would. But I can't. All I can do is make sure you're finally free. Tell Sophie her father loves her. Tell her I'm sorry I couldn't be there to watch her grow up. Tell her to be brave and kind and nothing like me. Live your life, Lila. Really live it. You've earned that.
A.
Lila folded the letter carefully, tears streaming down her face.
Nana.
Sophie's sleepy voice from the back. Are we there yet? Lila wiped her eyes, smiled. Almost, baby. Almost. The border crossing appeared ahead, lights in the darkness, promising something new. As they approached, Sophie pressed her face against the window. Mama, look. The man said we'll have a house with a yard. A real yard. That's right, sweetheart. And I can go to school? Like normal kids. Yes. And we don't have to run anymore? Lila's throat tightened. No more running. The border guard checked their documents, waved them through. Just like that, they crossed into another country. Another life. In the rearview mirror, Lila watched America disappear behind them. Somewhere back there, Anton sat in a federal prison, paying for sins both his and inherited. Somewhere, the remnants of the Valerio syndicate were being systematically destroyed. And somewhere, finally, Lila Moreno could breathe. After everything, Sophie said, half asleep again. Why would he throw his life away for us? Lila thought about a 19-year-old boy who used to sneak her sandwiches. About one night of desperate comfort. About a man who chose redemption over empire. Because, she whispered, taking her daughter's hand as dawn broke over the Canadian wilderness, you saved me once. This time it was his turn. The van drove on into the quiet morning, 3 people disappearing into new lives while behind them, in the wreckage of the old world, a fallen king waited for his judgment. But for the first time in 10 years, the shadows weren't following. In a prison cell 300 miles south, Anton Valerio closed his eyes and smiled. They were safe. That was enough.